Second aspect is that selflessness promotes strength in the relationship. We think of attachment as being something which binds two people together. I want you and I need you, and you want me and you want me and you need me. We think of it as being very strengthening. It's not. The thing that weakens the relationship is attachment. Because when I'm not getting my selfish demand met, that's when I get into conflict with that person. It's when I push them away. It's when if you're not going to give me what I want, I'm not going to give you what you want. It causes these fractures and these divisions. We hear of people getting divorced because this such and such happened. That's not the cause of the divorce. The cause of the divorce is that the relationship could not carry the burden of that particular experience. You come home, you find your wife sitting on the couch and she says, I've got something to tell you. I've been, getting into a relationship with another man. I recognize how bad it is and I don't want to do it, but look, I got frustrated and this happened and that happened and so on and so forth. Now, if you're highly attached, what's your reaction going to be? Okay, fly off the handle, you're going to be angry, you're sad, lost, and you're going to push her away. I can't trust you anymore, bang, the relationship breaks down. When there is that genuine selflessness, there is a moment of recognition of this person's weakness, this person's sadness, this person's etc. You see it from their perspective now. Only when I'm selfless will the relationship be strong enough to carry that kind of burden. Imagine coming home, imagine someone saying this to you and you being okay with it. Not okay with it in the sense of condoning the behaviour. It's clearly a violation of her obligations. But for you to be emotionally stable enough to say, well then what do we want to do next? Do you want to be in the relationship still? Do you want this marriage to go ahead? Or do you want to break up? To be able to think and function in this way and plan a way forward out of this particular problem to something that is going to be beneficial for both. That takes an extraordinary amount of strength in the individuals and in the relationship. The selfishness, look what you did to me, how could you do this to me? You stopped thinking about me when you talked to this woman, so on and so forth. You're hurting me. This is the selfish component. This is the ego coming in. So despite the fact that we have this feeling that if I'm really attached and if she's really attached, then we're really bound together, it's the opposite. The attachment is the fracture, it's the schism, it's the weak point. That, when the burden comes, that's where it will crack. So if I'm highly attached to my wife's affection and attention, then when she gives it to someone else, even laughs at another man's jokes. Hey, you like him, huh? What? I laughed at his joke. What are you talking about? It shows the weakness in the individual and the weakness in the relationship. As a practice, what does it mean? Exactly what we've already been covering. Après vous. This is the idea. After you. It simply means that we take into consideration the other person's well-being first. What is this person's nature? What is their experience? What is in their best interest of their well-being? And then function with that attitude. Very briefly on this one of the ways to circumvent the selfishness is to make an accurate assessment. This is what we covered in chapter 7 as well. The mind has expectations of others, and when they don't function according to those expectations, I condemn them for it in some way. I get disappointed. The way to circumvent the mind's expectations is to make an accurate assessment of what is. Again, it's an intellectual discipline, because the mind just absorbs images and creates expectations. We've got to actively figure out who is the person that I've been married to for the last 20 years. I think I know who she is, but well, maybe I'm wrong. Who is she now? There's a great quote in the book. George Bernard Shaw is the smartest man I know is my tailor, because every time I see him, he takes fresh measurements. He doesn't presume that my waistline is the same today as it was last month. He measures me again. But we don't do this in our relationships. I presume, well, the person that you are today is probably the same person I married, right? No, hopefully you're not the same person. Hopefully you've grown and matured a little bit. But if I have expectations that you're always going to be this sort of immature person, that's how I relate to you. So making fresh measurements, making a proper and accurate assessment is a way of circumventing the mind's expectations.